Hello, and welcome to this candidate forum for Kalamazoo City Commission. I'm Regena Nelson, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Kalamazoo area, and I will be your moderator for this event. Also with us is Chris Kuthi, former president of the League, who will be keeping time for the candidates. She will make sure that the formal parts of the forum are kept to the time allotted by holding up cards that indicate how much time remains. The sponsors for this forum include the Douglas Community Association, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, El Concilio, Isaac, NAACP Metropolitan Kalamazoo Branch, Western Michigan University Student Association, and the YWCA. We'd like to thank all of our partners for promoting this forum for online viewing. This is an important service to our community, and Public Media Network will be recording tonight's forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Established in 1920, the League of Women Voters has never supported nor opposed a political party or an individual candidate for public office. The League does support issues after careful study without regard to the stance of any political party. It is our privilege to provide voters with information to help them cast an informed vote. The League does this by publishing voter guides online at vote411.org and in print form, and by sponsoring public forums like this one. Our printed voter guide will be available later this month. To make this forum an informative event that conforms to League principles of fairness, each candidate has agreed to adhere to our ground rules. We also ask that the audience not clap, cheer, or boo during the forum. We will now begin the forum. The forum will start with an opening statement from each candidate of up to 2 minutes. Then I will pose questions for the candidates, alternating who responds first. Questions come from the forum sponsors and the League. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds to respond to each question. At the conclusion of the questions, each candidate will have up to 1 minute for a closing statement. With us tonight are 8 candidates for Kalamazoo City Commissioner. We have Bernard Dervan, Keshia Dickason, Duncan, Stephanie Hoffman, Sara Schlack, Jacqueline Slaby, and Jessica Thompson. Altogether, 10 candidates are running for Kalamazoo City Commissioner. However, Kizzy Bradford and Thomas Durlick are not participating tonight. By agreement of the candidates, we will be addressing each other by first names. We'll start with the first person who was drawn at random, Sara. You have the first opening statement. You have up to 2 minutes. So I'm going to pass the mic down. We'll be past it. And we'll just go in order.
Okay, so down this way. Yes, ma'am. So good evening. My name is Sara Schlack. I am an attorney. I've practiced for 13 years. I started my career in the federal government down in Washington, D.C., and then I traveled across the country, worked as a prosecutor for many, many years, and then I came back to Michigan and did indigent defense. So I worked for public defender offices until I opened my own practice, and I've been doing that for at least the last 3 years now. So I've been practicing for a long time. I practiced all over. I've worked in government in the very beginning of my career. Now I'm private. The reason I'm running for the city commission is because, I've lived everywhere, I've traveled everywhere, and I was looking for somewhere to call home, and I chose Kalamazoo. I chose Kalamazoo for a lot of reasons, a lot of it being that there was it was easy access, it was a community, it was a very inclusive environment. There are a lot of things I really loved about the city, and over the last couple of years, I've watched as those things have been deteriorated, and decisions are being made by our current government and within the city that I can't agree with, I can't support. I have my clients, I have family, friends who are being hurt by those decisions, small businesses that having to shut their doors because decisions are being made that affect their businesses, like about the road construction and things that they're doing for improvement. And then we're shutting down our small businesses, or things like having to cry with clients or friends who have been impacted by gun violence in our community that has been on the rise. As a prosecutor and defense attorney, I'm very well situated to be able to talk about those issues and what we should be doing to do a better job. And unfortunately, at least most recent, I decided I couldn't just focus on my business or my family, my clients, my friends. I needed to do more, and that's why I decided to run. It's very difficult to run, having all that on the plate, but again, if it's important to you, you're gonna make time for it, and this is important, because I think our city is worth fighting for and in building the things that mattered most and what attracted me to begin with. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jess Thompson, and I am honored to be running alongside of everyone here for Kalamazoo City Commission. I have lived in Kalamazoo since 1991 when I moved here to go to college and never left. I have raised 5 children here, and I've built a small business in downtown Kalamazoo. I want to share some of the things that I do for our community. It's a list. I am an executive director for the DDA and DEGA for downtown. I am the chair of the Marketing and Events Committee for downtown Kalamazoo, a member of the Clean and Green Committee for the city, the coordinator of the Downtown Kalamazoo Collective. I have also, for the last 3 years, been the social media manager for downtown Kalamazoo, and I co-host a podcast hosted by Jack FM that uplifts all of our restaurants, retail businesses in downtown, and I want to take all of that I have been doing for the last 3 to 5 years and expand that to the entire city of Kalamazoo. I am running because I love Kalamazoo. I believe in all of the people here, not just one group of people, all of them. My pillars that I'm running on are community first, sustainable solutions, and inclusive economic growth. Because when we listen to people, when we support all of the people and uplift everyone in our community, all of Kalamazoo is going to thrive. Thank you.
I'm Bernard Dervan. I've been a resident of the actual city since 2000. I own an auto repair business here in town over by the Edison neighborhood. I'm running because I just feel like the voices of a lot of the people aren't being heard. I'm seeing a lot of things that I don't agree with that have been happening over the last few years. I hear constant issues from my customers and even my neighbors of things that we disagree with, and I just think it's time for change. Sorry, I'm rather nervous public speaker. I don't really know what else to say at the moment.
Who's next? Drew? Oh, me. Okay. Good. Hello. I am Keshia Dickason. I am running for city commissioner, and I'm honored. I have been a road commissioner for the Kalamazoo County roads for 5 years. I have served in Ashtamo Planning Commission, have lived here in Kalamazoo since 1993 when I attended Western Michigan University, met my husband. I have my 3 children, my 3 Ps were raised here in Kalamazoo. All graduates from college now, one still in med school. And I am just honored to possibly work within Kalamazoo and to focus on the things that are my 3 pillars, which are housing, environment, and redevelopment, and just to be the voice of the people for the people. People over politics is what my statement is. And I just hope that I'm able to serve you all in the best capacity. Thank you.
Oh, okay. It's me, you guys. My name is Drew Duncan, and I'm running to be your Kalamazoo City Commissioner. I am a millennial. I work in workforce and economic development, so I tell people on a day-to-day basis, I work with people finding them in their mess and leading them to their mission. And I feel right now that Kalamazoo is in a bit of a mess. We are making decisions that are out of consensus with the neighborhoods, and the primary reason why I'm running is last year, one of our neighbors froze to death in our community. And when activists and neighbors stepped up to the commission and asked for resources and help, we were finger wagged. It was not met with urgency, it wasn't met with empathy, it wasn't met with compassion. So I'm running to reinstall those things in our government. As we see the calamity that is coming down from the Fed, all roads lead through local elections. These places, these positions will be our redoubt as budgets get slashed, as budgets shrink, as we look at different things we're going to have to do with the money in the city. And that's a reality. So I'm running to be resourceful. I'm running to bring integrity and hard work and accountability to City Hall in Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Hoffman. I currently serve as one of your city commissioners, and I'm delighted to be here on this panel with all of you. And I'm glad to see that the room is filled. When I first did this, I was asked time and time again, I was like, oh, heck no. The amount of pressure and the amount of time and responsibility that comes with a role like this. At the time, I was an executive director of a nonprofit that I absolutely still love. And then I prayed about it, and I said, okay, God, if you give me a sign, then I will step out, because clearly you are making my gifts make room for me. And I got the notion, I got a call from our then former Vice Mayor, Patrice Griffin, who asked me to run. And I was like, dang it, God was right on time. So I ran, and I tell you, these last 4 years have been life-changing, life-giving, but they've also been a challenge. And anyone who runs for city government or any public office, I believe we all go into it with our hearts in the right place. However, when you get in this role, you don't only have to answer for your passion, you have to answer for everything that happens within the city, from infrastructure to housing to homelessness to budget to, there are many good ideas out here, and if we could handle them all, we would. However, we have a responsibility as fiduciary of a $388 million budget to ensure that we are spreading ourselves in a way that equity is included. And I have a responsibility to be beholden to the community that voted me in, and to have those hard conversations with city commissioners, and also times publicly where I have to stand alone. And I'm okay with that, because I know I'm not alone. I have people that are in this community that continue to pray for me, that continue to lift me up, and I will say and do the hard things that need to be said and done, and not apologize for it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Jacqueline Slaby. I want to make sure that everyone here can proudly say that Kalamazoo is the easiest place to move to, start up, and plug in. And we're going to do that by creating a culture of accountability, innovation, and safety in the community and within City Hall. When I served as neighborhood activator for the city of Kalamazoo, people continue to come up to me and ask me if I'd be willing to consider serving in a leadership role and running for city commission. And when you work across the 22 neighborhoods of Kalamazoo and build those deep and meaningful relationships and trust, you know you have to answer that call when they ask you to step up. Endorsed by City Commissioner Don Cooney, Kiana Decker, Alonzo Wilson, County Commissioner John Taylor, and the Greater Kalamazoo Association for Realtors, I want to ensure that I help carry on their legacy of leading at the pace of courage and making sure that we speak up, whether proposals feel rushed and we need to say, hold on, pause, let's see if we're really engaging with the community and answering all their questions and concerns, or when we feel like things are being dragged because there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, it's our job as commission to say, wait, hold on. People are asking for this, and we need to respond to the emerging needs of the community. So For me, there is no better time than 2025 to elect someone qualified to lead and stand by your side with courage and community pride. I ask you to consider me, Jacqueline Slaby, as your next city commissioner.
Thank you. Now we'll proceed to the questions prepared by the League of Women Voters and the sponsoring organizations. We will start with Jessica, and then we'll go all the way around again, so just keep passing the mic. So the first question is, how will you advocate for and ensure equitable access to city resources and services across all neighborhoods, especially historically underserved ones?
Well, as a single mom who has raised 5 children and a person who has started a small business by herself with no outside funding, I know firsthand that things aren't always equal, things aren't always fair, and I am a middle-aged white woman, so I know many of my friends that have even worse equitable situations. There are so many of our neighborhoods that are underserved, and these issues have to be addressed. I will advocate for equitable access for resources that are dearly needed in our community.
So one of the things that I think needs to happen is the city needs to communicate better with the citizens about their ideas, their plans, what they'd like to see done, or what the decisions they've made are. Because currently I don't feel like the city is communicating well enough. So a lot of times there's things that are being put through that are wasteful, that benefit one community versus the other community. So I'd like to see maybe mailers. I'd like to see some canvassing of the neighborhoods. I'd like to see more, everyone's on social media nowadays. Let's see some more social media and put out surveys and see what people think of, what's being done. And I don't really know. Sorry.
Goes this way now. Hello, again, Keshia Dickason. Coming from Muskegon, Michigan, and into Kalamazoo in the early 90s. I lived in Alamo Hills, very low income at that time in the early 90s and 2000, that we didn't get the services that we needed just to function day to day. At times we were without water, many infestations that went on, and I learned how to advocate for those that are underserved and underprivileged when I worked for Interfaith Homes, I think around 20 years ago, as the neighborhood network coordinator. Getting out and advocating to different churches, community members, and leaders, bringing them together to do events that basically served Interfaith Homes where I worked at, and many children that I worked with, was one way that I advocate, and I still continue that to this day. Oh. That's okay.
Listen, I think equity starts with listening. I also think it starts with having the tough conversation that equity is not equal. Right? We have neighborhoods in the city of Kalamazoo that have been waiting on investment since their inception. And it is of the highest order to gaslight the public and tell them that the North Side is getting the same amount of resources as Winchell, right? That's just not a reality. The North Side needs a new rec center, youth rec center, right? Meanwhile, the city is spending money on roundabouts in Winchell and then tearing them out. So when we talk about this consensus that we need to have, about equity, right? It starts by, again, go through a neighborhood. If you've walked through your city, you know that the city has not been equitably developed. And, I have a simple vision. Equity and opportunity should be stretched to every corner of Kalamazoo. And as your commission, I'll work to do that.
Thank you. So for me, my first term as a city commissioner, it was very important from day one that we talk about transparency and that we also talk about anti-racism. When we think about equity and when we think about historically underserved neighborhoods, it all goes back to ethnicity. Don't want to talk about race because race is a man-made construct. So let's talk about ethnicity, and people that look like me are the ones who are always marginalized when it comes to things happening. What I did during my tenure for the first term was I advocated along with then Commissioner Esther Juarez and County Commissioner Tammy Ray to gain access for our grassroots nonprofit leaders that did not have a 501c3, but that were doing the hard work of engaging with community around gun violence, community violence, and how do we serve our youth. It was very important that we not go with the traditional nonprofits who always get the funding, but to open that wide open in order for those grassroots leaders and emerging leaders to have access to that. That was a huge piece to what we were doing and what we did. We saw a lot of emerging leaders not only become a full nonprofit, they are now grounded and doing great work. But that took a lot of decision making, and it took a lot of pressure on some of my other fellow commissioners who did not see the value in us extending. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But we did it, and lives changed and lives were saved because of that grassroots initiative.
Let's get down to business, because we can serve on the commission and have these high ideals, but what you guys want is action. You want things implemented. And so this is what I'll do as your commissioner. As your commissioner, I will demand a public dashboard that is very clear and transparent about the performance metrics. We're going to hold our new city manager accountable for him or her or them to ensure that their staff is held accountable for the goals that are measurable and clearly outlined in our new master plan coming before us in 2026. We are going to expand our communications department. We have only 5 staff dedicated to communications and engagement, representing our 600-person organization. That is unacceptable for a city that serves more than 75,000 residents and even more workers and tourists. And so we need to ensure that we actually invest in what we believe is important, which is what we say is engagement with Imagine Kalamazoo, by ensuring that we have staff supported with the necessary resources. We need to ensure that there's language access. We have tons of residents that do not speak English as their first language. When I was board trustee for Battle Creek Public Schools from 2017 to 2022, we championed getting us to stream all of our meetings with live Spanish and Burmese interpretation, and we were the first and only district to do this in the region. I am going to make sure that we get this implemented for the City Commission.
Hi, folks. So, a few things. I think a lot of people have touched on it. It's going to be our policy-driven, right? Making sure, obviously, the commissioner has a DEI policy, making sure that it's still updated, that is still truly what our goal is. I do think it needs to be updated, creating an environment and protecting an environment where everybody can be included, where people have access to the resources, to the information being put out there. And I think a big part of this is not only talking to each individual neighborhood about what they individually need. The neighborhoods have their own independent, very individualized needs that they have to address issues they're facing. Address those, but also have a comprehensive plan for the whole city, so we're not as isolated. So communities are engaging together. They are supporting one another in their causes and being more integrated. And I think the biggest part that probably sets me apart from the others here today is going to be that I don't think it's just a matter of making information available, being transparent, or making the opportunity, but going out into the neighborhoods. How many times do you see your politicians going out to those community events if it's something that doesn't directly serve them, i.e. when they're trying to be a politician and get your vote for something? Your politicians, the people who are on this commission and any elected position, should be out in the community talking to people, making it their priority to know what is going on in every community, what is needed talking to people that may not have the time to look at a board or log in or do social media. It's our job to try to include people and bring them in. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the next question, and we'll start with Bernard. What steps will you take, if elected, to pursue anti-racist work by Kalamazoo's government? I'll repeat that. What steps will you take, if elected, to pursue anti-racist work by Kalamazoo's government?
One of the biggest steps I think we have is we have a lot of language barriers within our community. So I think that we need to make sure that we're not stopping somebody from taking a position or a job within our community because they can't speak our language. One of the other things I think we need to do is we need to make sure that everyone feels like they're not being held down by one particular thing. Sorry, I am. We need to make sure that all voices and all people are being heard no matter what and equally, just making sure the right people are also getting the right positions. Oftentimes, I think that people feel unfair about the position or about, they oftentimes feel, gosh, I can't do this. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Keshia Dickason again. Some things that I have seen, working on my master's in healthcare administration, I was challenged to work with the DEI director at that time, believe it was Mona Lisa James, and we were challenged and tasked to find, not just to hear employees and their concerns, but to have open dialogue and meetings that were addressing the way that different individuals of different colors, race, backgrounds felt. So I feel like that if we're more intentional about not just, as I call it, looking for an individual based on their credentials, but looking at individuals and asking our community, I'm guilty of this, who do you know that can fill this role, not just based on who you've seen in the role or individuals that have been around and they belong to certain cliques, if you will, or organizations. So just being more intentional about how, and translation is important. I have a young man that is from Honduras, has not spoken any English since he's been here, and just working with him to find individuals in the workplace that are able to translate for him also.
Yeah, so like I said, I work in workforce and economic development, and I actually am the vice chair of our DEI committee at the Upjohn Institute of Employment Research. And one of the things that, came out of our committee was this conversation about the strength of a bachelor's degree. So we proposed to the business, hey, would it be acceptable for us to accept experience as the same as someone going and having the privilege to go to school? And I'm very happy to say that's the law of the land in the business now. So when we talk about the steps, I'm already doing that in my day-to-day work. But also my vision is simple. We should have a city where every resident, no matter what zip code, feels safe, has housing and a voice at the table that is valued at the decisions making stage. And we also need to reinstall confidence back in City Hall. So when we talk about the steps that need to be taken to install equity, that is a part of it, rebuilding community trust.
So I think for me, I have to embody anti-racism ways. Not every person of color is an anti-racist because we were all socialized in the same system. So we have to understand that first and foremost. Secondly, racial healing has been a part of my life since about 2016, where I've become a racial healing practitioner. I've been in spaces where anti-racism is the foundation of everything that I do as a human being. And I bring that to every work that I am involved in. If we can't have real conversations and acknowledge that race is a barrier, and it continues to be. And in my first term as a city commissioner, our city manager declared that the city of Kalamazoo would become an anti-racist organization. And I remind us of that as often as I can. That's hard work, and it is not always appreciated or taken in, but we have to do what we need to do in order for everyone within our community to live in this community and feel seen, heard, and have the opportunities for shared prosperity that we so talk about in our community. It is hard work, but it's necessary work. And we have everything we need to do to ensure that we do the hard work, to ensure that every resident, not citizen, but every resident of Kalamazoo has an opportunity to thrive and live a healthy and normal life.
Where do I start? So the foundation of trust is consistency. And so we will do a lot of engagement as the city, but it's not regularly. And we need to start ensuring that we're building strong relationships and regularly meeting with groups like NAACP, like Isaac, like others on a regular basis so that they feel like there's opportunities not just for us to talk to them, but for us to engage in two-way dialogue. And I think that's going to allow us to even better understand all the emerging needs that come in a dynamic and diverse city like Kalamazoo. For us, we need to make sure that our boards and committees, not just the commission, are representative, because these committees and boards, Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Environmental Concerns Committee, represents geographically and demographically our city. And what we need to do is make sure people have an on-ramp into civic life and that they feel like they can engage at decision level at every single step. And so what I want to make sure is, as your commissioner, we will create a workshop, training, and other opportunities that are available and accessible for anyone that's interested to learn how to serve on a board and committee so they can feel confident in applying, and we will ensure that their applications do not fall in a black hole. Lastly, as neighborhood activator, I worked with the Northside Association for Community Development to create Build Your Business open houses, and we were able to successfully add over 30 minority-owned and women-owned businesses to our vendor list by connecting with them where they live, and we're going to continue to invest in opportunities like that.
So I think it starts with having a conversation. Unfortunately, I have to have that conversation on a daily basis with a lot of my clients about how race is going to impact them getting a fair trial. That's usually the context that we're talking about it, but the reality is that race, and there's other barriers, we've touched on language, education, transportation, where you are in the neighborhood, what you actually have access to as far as knowledge, resources, even knowing what opportunities may be available. All those things, obviously, we need to address by having those conversations and making things more accessible to people, going out and making sure people are aware, not just being passive and saying, hey, it's posted. It's great if it's posted. Who knows that it's there? Is it the people who are showing up? We appreciate all of you, but is it the individuals who are actively engaged? How do we get the others that are not engaged involved? We also need to hold people accountable that are doing things in our city that we don't find acceptable. When they are isolating people, when they are saying we're doing horrible things or treating people differently, no matter what it is, whether it's a language barrier, an ethnic issue, a racial issue, it doesn't matter. We should all have access. We should all be treated with dignity and respect, period. That's holding people accountable when they're not doing that, and that's making sure our policies are that where we are being fully inclusive to everybody, and we're breaking down barriers when they are identified, and actively trying to find what those barriers are so we can take them down without waiting for somebody having to tell us, hey, there's a language issue here, could you fix that? No, we should be thinking, what is causing people not to engage? Is everybody fully engaged? We have this much of our population of this race or this ethnicity, how do we get them engaged? They're not showing up. Thank you.
So pursuing anti-racism starts with transparency. It starts with accountability from all of us. I feel that we need to continue to expand diverse representation across our boards that we have. The 6 that I serve on are very diverse boards, and I am very proud to serve alongside of every single person on them, but there's still work to be done. Unfortunately, I can't be on all the boards, and there are multiple that need more diverse representation. We need to uplift the voices during decision-making processes and remove those barriers, like everyone has spoken about already. And one of the things that I have done already in the city of Kalamazoo is to continue to help friends, entrepreneurs, people that have become friends, to get into spaces. And they have said, oh, this person just got me into this space. She got me into this room. And I say, I held the door, you got yourself in the room. And I've seen firsthand the amazing work that so many people have been able to do in this city just because they were given an opportunity. And I think that we need to continue to do that.
Thank you. So yes, we have a second mic, so we can pass that one down for that end of the table. And the next question will start with Keshia. And the question is, how would you ensure that downtown development provides overall benefits to the people of Kalamazoo and does not adversely impact any group?
Thank you for that. So, working in the Road Commission for over 5 years, I have dealt with business owners. Infrastructure is the one thing that we focus on, in safe streets and safety for all. Just working with local leadership, the mayor, the county commissioners, past leadership, and trying to work together to make sure that everyone has a safe environment with all of the infrastructure and changes that are going on. As Commissioner Hoffman stated, we need to work together with leadership and not to work against things. So when there's something new and equitable we need to make sure that that's spread it around for everyone. And I hope to work with leadership and with the constituents to get their voices and buy-in as well.
Oh, okay. Wait.
One of the things that I've seen that really bothers me that I'd like to make a change for is the waste of funds. We've wasted so much money in the city. The city was able to get $1 million grant for homeless pods. They bought 50 pods and they sold them for a fraction of what they paid to Lansing. We have a lot of wasted buildings and a lot of wasted space. I think we need to work on not wasting money on funds like the Winchell Roundabout, on the bike lanes, the bike lights, all the things that everyone in this town are so frustrated with. We need to work on being more ideal and spending less money on silly projects and more money put into the community, maybe training the young kids so we're not having as much crime, give them opportunities to learn, give them opportunities to advance themselves. And I think that's our biggest problem right now and that's why I'd like to see change, is the waste of money and just not using our minds effectively.
Downtown belongs to all of us, and it should feel like that. And right now, to solve the downtown's problems and to make sure that it's working for everybody, it's got to work for someone first, right? So right now, we're hemorrhaging businesses. Right now, people don't want to bike downtown. Right now, people don't want to shop downtown. That's a problem, right? So as we are talking about IK 2035, as I'm on a neighborhood association tour, overwhelmingly, our neighbors feel that they have not had their input heard. And we've heard a lot about how the community has been engaged. I've been to several of those meetings, and I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't seem as if the city was intentional about the type of input that it was trying to get. It seemed like a lot of those conversations were already predetermined and guided when you got to that room, and that seems to be the consensus amongst people when you talk to them in the community. So, you know, the biggest thing that we need to do is also work with developers as they come to our city and tell them, you know, I don't want to say his name, but, you know, we need to learn the art of the deal when working in our city, right? And how do we create an economic environment that, you know, supports business, but also is uplifting to our neighbors. So, thank you.
So as a city commissioner, I want to clear up some misinformation. The city of Kalamazoo, north of the county, invest $1 million into a pod project. That was private dollars from a local nonprofit who did that. And so there's always been this notion that the city is wasting money all of the time, and that is just not true. So I just wanted to put that out there in the atmosphere. The other thing is, when I think about downtown development, one thing that I've always said is, if you really want to know the health of your city, look at your core neighborhoods and everything that surrounds downtown. And if those neighborhoods are suffering and are challenged and they have barriers, then our health is not very good. So us investing solely within our downtown community, we need to be doing both. We need to take a look at what we're doing downtown and how is that impacting the north side, east side, Edison, and West Douglas, and the south side. Those are things that I will continue to lift up. Again, if our core neighborhoods are not healthy, it doesn't matter how much we invest in downtown, we will not have a healthy downtown. And it comes back to what? Human beings. How are we serving and taking care of the people that live in our core neighborhoods and throughout the city?
So, how does it work in City Hall? What happens is, when we do these projects or proposals come to us, we rely on the policies and the plans that we have in place to ensure what we're doing is meeting our goals, whether it's for engagement or health and safety requirements. We have a thing called the Public Participation Policy. It's over 20 pages, but it's all about lofty goals on how we would like to engage, but it doesn't have real criteria to ensure that we are holding our city staff accountable. We only have one paragraph in there that dedicates to explaining and the requirements for developers on how they should engage with the community. That is unacceptable. We need to ensure that developers are held accountable before they even bring their architectural plans to the city, that they have done the groundwork required to know what the residents want. Because what happens is, they'll come to the city, they'll go through site plan, and they say they've spent thousands of dollars on these plans, they can't change them now. We had one engagement meeting, no one came. We have to make sure we don't let them through and continue to do this. And we do that by starting with updates to our public participation policy to, again, be more stringent in what we require from our developers. And we ensure that we create opportunities for residents and small developers to be able to have agency and be empowered to do their own work and invest in their own community through community land trust and community benefits agreements.
So this is definitely my wheelhouse. Every single day, my job is to literally figure out what are the different options and what are the collateral damage of every single option. That's what they're asking on this question. They're trying to say, hey, what are you going to do to make sure that you're not having a negative impact by doing bike lanes or building a stadium or promoting this program or promoting this festival, whatever it is. Every day I have to make those decisions on what is the collateral, what am I not thinking about that could possibly be impacted by this decision. I think a lot of decisions have been made, and again, going back to my opening statement, a lot of decisions have been made not thinking about what the collateral may be, including things that may be things that you didn't really necessarily consider. Yeah, is there going to be collateral if I shut down a road? Sure, we have traffic in other neighborhoods. We have businesses that may be impacted. But what about those citizens that are going to need services from those businesses? What about other issues like the impact and now the issues going on with that extra traffic, or is there extra crime, or now do we have other issues that you didn't think about because you weren't thinking about, hey, how is this going to impact something else and have a domino effect down the road? So I think in that area, obviously, from my background, considering what the collateral damage is going to be, thinking about all the possible options that we do have, and as a defense attorney, sometimes you don't like your options. So on a daily, I have to figure out a new option, step out of the box and be creative with a solution. That's exactly what I would do in this position as well. After, of course, getting feedback and doing all that due diligence, it's still about getting down to what is the collateral, how do we be all-inclusive? Thank you.
So ensuring that downtown development provides overall benefits to all of Kalamazoo. Well, we need downtown development, whether it's large development or whether it's small. We have to continue to do that so that we have a thriving hub in the heart of our city. We need to continue to uplift all of our existing businesses, which I see weekly happening, which is fantastic. Some of the ways that we're doing that are the Downtown Dollars Match Program, which is fantastic, and that brings people to downtown through large organizations. Community events that are giving people a reason to come to downtown and navigate some of these streets that are closing and they're frustrating. And we need great communication, which it's getting better. I know there's issues, there always are, right? But great communication so that people understand how to navigate the streets and getting downtown. Now, right now, my business is having the best sales year that it's had since COVID. 25% of my clientele ride bikes in the bike lanes to get to my shop. So can it be better? Of course. They're working on that. But it needs to be an inclusive space that is for everyone to get down there.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask the next question. It's going to start with Drew and then Stephanie, and then we'll go around this way. So this is the question. What environmental concerns are most significant in the city? What should the city do to address them?
The two biggest would be flooding, for sure. I'm going to shout out Tina McClinton. She has been coming to the commission for a decade, talking about how she lives in the bowl of Kalamazoo and her basement has been flooding. For 10 years, we've talked about that. The second is water quality. Who would like to drink out of their tap here? Things that I think we could do to address this is, one, follow the environmental plan that the city has passed. But two, I go further, right? I think we need bioswales and permeable pavement in places like the Bowl. When we look at the benefits of that in cities across the nation, we know that it takes up to an extra 16 inches of water. So while we know maybe we cannot, without completely tearing out the roads and installing drain systems, fix the issue in that neighborhood, we can surely practice harm reduction. And I think that's important. So again, that takes urgency and accountability from the city. Again, when I hear about one of our neighbors coming for 10 years, it's really concerning. That's beyond us not being urgent. That's us being negligent.
I know him, y'all. I know him. So for me, there are two issues that we are facing that are very prevalent. That's the air quality, specifically that what is happening on the north side and the east side, and to be honest, in Parchment as well, and the water quality. It is very hard for me as a sitting city commissioner to every year look at our budget and then we have another water increase when people are calling, stopping me in the grocery store saying, why is our water and we can't even drink it? It's brown. I can't take a bath yet. Those are very hard places for a city commissioner to sit in. And we also have to think about the disinvestment that didn't happen for decades. So what we see is what we're doing now, the overinvestment, and it's not even really over. We're trying to catch up as a city, municipality in that infrastructure. And it's still hard to make those decisions because it impacts the budgets of every household, specifically those that are low income and moderately income households. And the air quality, I moved to the north side in 2018, and it was in 2018 that my respiratory system took a very big hit. People have said, well, you can just move. No. I can't just move. Why would I just move? Why wouldn't I stay there and be part of the solution and to continue to raise it up to the city? We have to do more. What does that look like? That could look like us buying air purifiers, investing. I know graphic packaging is a huge conglomerate, and I'm gonna tell you all this publicly. Graphic packaging is a necessary evil for this community. The economic impact that it has at the state and the local level is huge.
We need to clean up our lots. And I think it's abysmal that in our core neighborhoods, North Side, East Side, Edison, that we leave lots that have faced arson and have been demolished with potential hazards like lead and asbestos, sitting there for years without cleanup. And people in those neighborhoods should not have to face that when they come out of their house every day. And what the city does is we slash our demolition budget every year. We need to make sure that we invest and we clean up these lots for people to enjoy where they choose to call home. Secondly, because I want to make sure this topic gets brought up at some point in this forum, is homelessness. And why I think this is a significant environmental concern. In addition to waste, littering that comes just from, a lot of people being outside, an environmental concern is their ability to live quality lives in safe and affordable housing. And we need to ensure that the city owns that problem by first making sure it's a conversation. It's clearly outlined in our new Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 master plan, because it has not been outlined in our previous master plans that we say we've done so much engagement on. And we need to absolutely understand what data we need to collect, have those performance goals set up, and publish our dashboard to ensure that we're transparently showing the progress we're making on these goals to create a system to end homelessness.
So there's a lot of environmental issues, and let me be the very, very first to say, I do not have the answer to everything. But I'm smart enough to figure out where, are you having trouble hearing me? Hold it closer, is that better? Thanks guys, sorry about that. I'm smart enough to know what questions I need to ask and what I need to do and stay on top of stuff and be aggressive when necessary, kill them with kindness, right? But you have to be able to bare your teeth sometimes if you aren't getting results. And that is what I can bring to not only the commission, but this particular issue is trying to know what is most important to other people. I will tell you, based on the conversations I've already had, it's the water quality. It touches in almost every neighborhood that I have talked to. It is a major issue, not only for the environment, but our health and safety. So obviously, that would be a huge priority, focusing on that issue to begin with, and then hitting on some of these other issues. I think there are other issues brought up that also touch on that, tangential. Again, I talked about collateral consequences, thinking about how this all impacts one another and trying to get the most bang out of our buck. Obviously, as a small business owner, I do that a lot. So making sure that whatever program we put in place, whatever we're doing to try to address an issue isn't having negative impact, or if we can do other things that are helping not only address that issue, again, the water quality issue, like our river, but that is also adding benefit to other issues, like the homeless population, making sure we're having a healthy space, making sure that there's healthy water that is feeding into our vegetation and to just even our wildlife. Those are all important things to consider. Thank you.
Well, environmental concerns, this is something I work with every day. I'm the owner of Michigan's first zero waste and refill shop, which is a completely eco-friendly store. It is plastic-free, it is toxic-free. So these are conversations that I have literally every day. I would say, just as everyone else has, water and air pollution are huge issues that need to be further addressed because they are already being addressed. And I know that the anniversary of the water plant is coming up, and that's very exciting. Plastic pollution is huge to my heart, so that is something that needs to be addressed. We need to continue to work on infrastructure, continue to work with the manufacturing plants to eliminate toxic chemicals that are going into our air and our water. And we need to make our city walkable. bikeable to cut down on those emissions. We need to continue to increase the composting programs that have just started up that we are a part of at my shop. We are also a part of the styrofoam collection process that is happening at the city and have been for 4 years. And I want to increase that not quarterly, but to every other month. And these are all just really important things that we need to do for the safe and healthy, or the health of not only our community, but our entire planet as well.
Bernard's next.
So one of the biggest problems I have a business over near the Edison neighborhood, and we have a lot of flooding. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a massive rainstorm, and it flooded almost up to my building. And I'm not in the lowest point. 2nd Street, Sheldon Street, oftentimes underwater, Crosstown underwater. So I think the flooding is one of our biggest concerns. The second big thing is we do have a large homeless population. They leave a lot of trash everywhere because they don't have anywhere to bring their things. We need to work on finding a way to get some public trash receptacles out there. The water quality is my other, probably the biggest concern we have in the reality is water quality. At my own home, I know I've had to change my pipes twice. I put a whole water filter for the entire home, and it still is getting changed every 2 months. Put in a reverse osmosis system, and I'm still having brown, nasty water right up until the filtration system. I've spoke with people, my customers over in the Edison neighborhood. I've spoke with friends of mine in the North Side neighborhood. All of our water has gotten worse in the last few years, and we don't understand why we're paying more and why the water quality is going down so much. So I think that's one of our biggest areas we need to address. And I do agree with the smell from graphic packaging. It's quite strong, and so I feel bad for everyone that's living in that area. Thank you.
So for me, I would say that the PCB contamination into the Kalamazoo River, Portage Creek, working for Michigan Senate, I had an opportunity to be on the flood task force for years, and the flooding, it's still the same. It's just in different areas at different times, and that is one thing that we need to grasp a hold to, because it's very costly for individuals to, they were running generators at their homes, which was then making their electric bills sky high just to pump water out of their homes to be able to walk into their homes. Also, air quality will be second for me. Being the owner of my small home healthcare staffing agency, my clients are seniors and elderly that they will tell me they can't assist me with going to the store or their doctor's appointments because of the air quality. They need to stay in. So those will be the two things that I feel that we need to focus on as leadership, would be the water contamination and the air quality.
Thank you. So for the next question, we'll start with Stephanie, and then we'll go all the way around again. This question is, how would you ensure the city residents have confidence in the public safety department?
Oh, that's a deep one. First of all, I think what we have to do at the city level is, we know that we have some hardworking men and women in KDPS. We also have some individuals that work within that department do not see the humanity and value of each and every resident that we have within our community. We have to acknowledge that. Our chief of police and the chief prior to him had very robust programs that were really addressing and really trying to get back out into the streets and into the community to build and rebuild those relationships and establish trust. Without acknowledging that we have some bad actors within our community, we will never win that trust back. So for me, as a city commissioner, it is incumbent on us that we recognize and talk about it and not just give kudos when the great things happen, but we need to also address when it goes sideways, because oftentimes it does. And we have a responsibility to hold the chief of police and the city manager accountable for those ways in which we should and can be working a lot better around community engagement and rebuilding that trust. It takes time. Once trust has been eroded, it takes a lot of time to rebuild that, and we have an opportunity to do that in a way that is equitable, that is loving and compassionate, and that human beings become the priority once again.
Okay. So I know a lot of communities do this. Kalamazoo is one of them, where we have the Citizen Police Academy. It's offered twice a year, where citizens that are interested can go and learn what the police do and what they offer, and ride around. I think we should take it up a notch. So under our good governance goal in our current Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 master plan, and I hope we see that carried through into our next 2035 master plan, we tried participatory budgeting. And that went away very quickly because we said, uh-oh, now people are telling us how to use the money. And what I want to see is the budget that's allocated specifically to public safety. What does it look like to engage residents directly on where they think it is most important to invest that funding for public safety, so that we can ensure what are the top priorities, whether it's additional training or what have you, additional programming and other supports, to be able to build a better, stronger, safer system to address continued issues that exacerbate what our police officers and fire officers face. And so, you know, mental health, people that are unhoused, so many things that create barriers and obstacles and additional challenges. I think it would be great to understand where do people want to see the investment made and allow them to make that choice and be heard.
Well, I'm lucky because this question is definitely in my wheelhouse. I'm a former prosecutor, I'm a current defense attorney. I've been on both sides of this issue on public safety concerns, and I will say it's really abhorrent what's going on in our particular city regarding the violence rate and gun violence, particularly in our city. There's a few different things we can do to address it and to build that public trust, because here's the deal, the police are not supposed to be out there hunting people and just getting people picked up on a felony. They're supposed to be out there making sure, hey, everybody's safe, first and foremost. Welfare and safety should be at the top of their priority list. They should be engaging in the community. I've worked in a lot of different states where they are engaged. They are on interdisciplinary teams, interdisciplinary boards. They're communicating with each other. They're not just going out writing tickets. They're out actually engaged with the community that they're serving. And they're able and they know how to use discretion on what is important, what is a situation that needs to be dealt with, what is something that does need arrest, what is something that does need to be escalated further. I think having that common sense element and that engagement is a huge part of that. Transparency is the other one. As a prosecutor, the reason I loved being a prosecutor back in the day is because I was told one thing. Your job is just to do the right thing. That's it. You wear the white hat. That means every single decision has to be upfront, transparent, and be very clear on what you're doing. You don't do anything secret or in the dark or anything like that. You wear the white hat. I don't see that going on here in our community. You have a responsibility when you want to be in that position, especially when you're talking about public safety. You need to be transparent, you need to be engaged, and you need to wear the white hat and make sure that every single decision you're doing the right thing. Thank you.
So having confidence in public safety, building trust, that's where it starts. The officers need to be seen every day, right? Not just in a crisis. That's where we need to see them. We need to see them on the streets. We need to see them in the neighborhoods, engaged in activities that are going on. So that is something that I do see. I want to see more of. When I've gone to different neighborhood events that are happening, I see the officers that are out there and the kids are coming up and they're high-fiving them. That's what we want to see. We want to see that the adults in the neighborhoods, they know their names back and forth, right? We need to be investing in youth programs, mental health, and neighborhood engagement with all of our officers. Our residents need to feel seen, they need to feel heard, and they need to be respected by those officers. And that comes with training, lots and lots of training. And I think that there's more work to be done. But like I said, every resident needs to feel secure in their community, and our public safety officers have such a great opportunity to do that.
Bernard's next.
So one of the things we used to have 20 years ago was a community police officer, and it was amazing. Oakwood, we loved our officer. He would ride around on the bike, he'd come through every day, everyone in the neighborhood knew him. We don't have that any longer in our neighborhood. I'm told that we have a community police officer that shares 2 to 3 neighborhoods. We need the officers to be out there, we need them to be present, we need them to show that they're not just there trying to hunt you for a ticket, they're not just there trying to cause problems or make you feel bad, that they're actually there trying to help you and listen to you. And one of the biggest things we need is transparency, because right now we don't have a lot of transparency. We do have a lot of issues where officers are not always felt that they're giving the right communication to the people they're interacting with. And we need to bring up, what would be really great is if we had a youth academy so we could get the kids out there, give them an opportunity to see what it's like, do ride-alongs like we used to do in the 80s and 90s. I don't see that anymore.
I would say some things that I'm kind of old school that I would like to see is that there's a neighborhood watch in every neighborhood, not just certain neighborhoods. I know that I've done community coffee chats on Fridays, and I've gone to different neighborhoods, but not every neighborhood in the city has a neighborhood watch. Also, to host more community events. The Night Out event was the first time in Kalamazoo in years that I have seen both public safety, community leaders, and the entire community united in one event. So maybe we could do something that we're making sure that we're more, I don't want to say family friendly, but I do, family friendly, that we are actually engaging. You can have an opportunity to speak with local public safety officials. I was on, I think it was the north side, that was one of my 5th stops, and we had a business owner that she needed to speak to leadership, and she was able to follow them to the next neighborhood and address her issues and concerns that she had with her business. So being completely transparent with one another and hosting more neighborhood association events together with both public safety leaders and the constituents.
The best way to rebuild public trust is accountability. And as your commissioner, one of the things that I would do is push for the expansion and adding teeth to our CRB so that they can take complaints from citizens concerning public safety officers. While I am going through the neighborhoods, I'm hearing things like at the Stewart neighborhood, I heard of a gentleman who was trying to get a honeysuckle weed from under his bushes, and he was flat on his stomach. And an officer was going through that neighborhood and grabbed him by his ankles and drug him out and said, "Look what we have here." And so when I hear that from a person who's in executive leadership in the neighborhood association, what hope does a person who is unhoused or maybe doesn't look like the officer has? So our best use of our time working around the commitment to trust is to create the ability for the citizens to hold public safety accountable. I understand, firsthand as a person who's had a sister in law enforcement in my family, what they go through, what they see, and how serious the job is. But at a job where when you make a mistake, somebody could die, I think that it's incredibly important that we have a mechanism that the community can hold people accountable when those mistakes do happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for closing statements. Each candidate now has up to 1 minute for a closing statement, and we will start with Jacqueline, and then go to Sara, Jessica, and
Big
so
J.
forth.
Okay, just so you know, it's Jacqueline Slaby like baby. So look out for that on the ballot. But anyways, for me, I want to make sure that people feel heard and people feel engaged, and that's what I did as neighborhood activator. I wanted to ensure that we had systems in place to sustain that work, even if I wasn't in that role. And what I want to make sure is we can be super values driven and talk about these lofty goals. But when you get on the commission and go through the routine of hundreds of proposals coming before you, 6 to 7 hour long meetings, meeting after meeting after meeting, you can get consumed and overwhelmed. And so I want to ensure that you have a commissioner, Jacqueline Slaby, ready to fight and ensure that we hold accountable everything that our city staff and city manager comes to us and says is going to be done, that we actually have the things in place to make that happen and to ensure when they don't get that done, that there are consequences that allow us to move the needle in the right direction, and we will not stop until we get that done.
First of all, Sara Schlack, running for City Commission. I want to thank you guys all for being here. I know it's been kind of a long night. You've listened to a lot. You've listened to a lot of us tell you our opinions. Thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for listening and giving us your time. With that said, there's very few things I can promise you, because the reality is when we get on there, there's restrictions on what authority we have to do certain things. There's going to be needing to coalition build, trying to build a consensus, trying to get input. There are a few things I can promise you. It's going to be that, one, I'm going to listen. I'm going to make it my job to be a part of every single community that we have, every neighborhood, and figure out what's going on, be present, participate. I will do the work of coming out to them, to you, to be there, to be part with my neighbor, because that is why I'm running, is because I'm your neighbor. I'm not a politician. I'm not very eloquent. I don't have planned talking points for you. I'm trying really hard not to use colorful language, because I'm a down-to-earth person just trying to make a difference, trying to make it better for my neighbors. So if you'd like to talk to me, I join you to come, because I'm being told to stop, so come talk to me. I'd love to talk to each one of you. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here so much. I do know that there is a lot of misinformation about what city commissioners actually do and what people think that the commission can do, and that happens a lot. One of the things I do know is that city commissioners rely on partnerships and collaborations. They rely on people that they listen, right? They need to listen, and that is what I would do. I listen every day to everyone who comes into my shop, who I work with on all of the boards and committees that I serve on, and I would continue to do that. I love coming out to the neighborhoods. I love coming to the events to meet people and to listen and see what everyone needs. So I bring collaboration, I bring creativity and community engagement, I bring loads of positivity. If you know me, you know that. And that's kind of what this city needs as well, along with all of the other things. Say yes to Jess, November 4th.
I'm Bernard Dervan. I run on the idea of we have too much waste, it's time to clean it up. I'm not a politician, I'm a horrible public speaker, but I am very common sense. And I am very much a person that goes out and talks to my neighbors, knows my neighbors at my business, knows my neighbors in my own neighborhood in Oakwood. And I just want to make a difference by helping to bring some common sense to some of the ideas that we're bringing forth. City commissioners don't have as much power as a lot of people think, but they do have the ability to push ideas and to help drive directions, and that's what I'd like to do. Just use common sense.
I am Keshia Dickason. I would love your vote for City Commission. I would love to work with local leadership to serve all of the neighborhoods of Kalamazoo, not just one over the other. Every neighborhood has a different need. And I've learned that from coffee chats. One neighborhood is upset about flooding, while another neighborhood, they couldn't get out of their driveways because of a roundabout. So there's different needs in this community, and when you go to the ballot and you see Keshia Dickason, remember her, and it's your voice, my actions. Vote for Keshia Dickason.
My name is Drew Duncan, and I am looking to earn your support November 4th on or before. I think it's important that we understand that it is time to elect people who understand the urgency of the moment. A person that understands that without people speaking truth to power, we will get the same that we have continued to get. I think we should elect someone who listens, acts, and uses due diligence when they make decisions. I am running because, again, no neighbor in our city should freeze to death in a city that is so resource rich and so full of community. I'm running because Kalamazoo for too long has been casting their ballots for copy and paste special interests, and I'm running because Kalamazoo now needs something to believe in. So I'm asking you on or before November the 4th to believe in Drew Duncan for City Commission. Thank you.
After all of those folk. So I wanted to finish what I was saying in reference to graphic packaging. There is a way that the City Commission and local neighborhoods can begin holding graphic packaging accountable. They make billions of dollars in our community. What would it look like if they began to reinvest in those neighborhoods, specifically to those households, not to a program, but work with a local nonprofit to get funding to supply air purifiers, to do energy efficient upgrades? That's what I'm talking about by holding graphic packaging accountable. I'm Stephanie Hoffman. I've been serving, this is my 4th year. It has been a blessing and a curse. I will not lie about that. However, it has been life-giving, and the work that we have begun, we've heard a lot about what we're not doing. We have done tremendous things. We have invested over $50 million in affordable housing. We have contributed millions to youth development for the summer programs. We've done a lot, and I'm proud of what we've done. Can we do more? Absolutely. But I'm not gonna let anybody do on what we've been doing and what we will continue to do. Y'all know what to do. Let's get it. Vote for me.
Thank you, candidates. This concludes the commissioner portion of our forum. We thank our candidates for their participation and remind candidates and viewers that recordings of this forum may not be used without the express written approval of the League of Women Voters. The League will only allow audio and video of this event to be shared in its entirety, except by the media reporting on the event. Please use the QR codes around to complete the evaluation for the forum. And thank you to our great audience. Visit vote411.org to check your voter status, review your ballot and candidate information for the November 4th election. Our paper voter guides will be available September 25th. Remember to vote. Good night.